How exactly did Europeans conquer Africa and plunder Africa? First of all, let's talk about why they did this. Uh, so Africa is the largest continent. Let's take a. We haven't seen the map today. I mean, it's already been 35 minutes. We haven't opened the map. What's happening? All right, let's take a look at the map. Here's the map. We know where India is. Let's go westwards, and this is Africa here. All right. And if you look at the Mercator projection map and so on, it will look like uh, Eurasia is larger than Africa, and maybe the Americas are similar size. But I'll assure you that if you look at the if you actually look at the figures, then Africa is by far the largest continent, gigantic continent. Uh, it's way bigger than every other continent. Now, so it's Africa. If you look at the kind of resources it has, you will see that Africa holds more than half of the world's natural resources. Everything you can ask for, whether it is minerals, whether it is metals, iron, copper, gold, whatever raw materials you need of any kind, they're all available in Africa. You want uranium, you'll find uranium in Africa. There's tremendous amount of fertile land if you want to do agriculture and so on and so forth. Everything that you can ask for, all raw materials are available in Africa, and that's why Africa was seen as a gold mine by the Europeans, and that's why they colonized parts of Africa. And there was a scramble for Africa, and the European powers, the colonizing powers, in the 19th century, divided Africa up among themselves, and that's why you see even today in Africa you have nations whose boundaries are just straight lines, because the lazy colonizers, when they eventually departed, they just drew straight line boundaries between nations, and these are all artificially created nations. And because these artificially created nations have ethnic groups within them that historically did not belong together, that's why you have so many civil wars and so much unrest in Africa. So why did the Europeans conquer Africa and colonize Africa? Because of the natural resources. Because I mean, you want resources. You want to enrich yourself at somebody else's expense. It's as simple as that. Steal their resources and use them. uh, that's why they did that. And how did they do it? Well, the Europeans already had a lot of practice and experience colonizing other countries, like the Americas. They destroyed uh, North America and South America. They wiped out the native cultures there, right? And stole the land. And they also had experience, the Europeans, in India, how to suppress, how to take over a very large piece of territory, and suppress any dissent, and crush revolts and all that. So they applied the same techniques and learnings in Africa. One of the easiest things to do is divide and conquer, divide and rule. So yeah, so that's how they did it. So the Europeans had superior technology. They had a lot of experience fighting nations and kingdoms and empires that had large manpower but inferior technology, and they knew how to divide and rule. So that's why they were able to gradually, step by step, in a reasonably short period of time, conquer all of Africa. So there are entire books written about this, but yeah, it's an interesting story as to how this happened, and it's tragic. They've completely destroyed Africa. Completely destroyed Africa. Today, if you see Africa, there are two major religions in Africa. Both are of foreign origin. Both are Abrahamic religions, and in some countries, both religions exist together, and there's a lot of bloodshed because of that. And Africa's original cultures have all been wiped out. Original governance systems have all disappeared. Africans are rootless today. They don't know their history. Their history has been eradicated. Their cultures have been eradicated. They worship foreign gods and speak foreign languages. Just like India, where in India everybody thinks that speaking English makes you superior to others. And if you speak English, you can get good jobs. If you can't speak English, you can't get good jobs. That sort of thing. In Africa, it's mainly uh, either English or French. So there's lots of parts of Africa where if you want to appear civilized and cultured, you have to speak French. So once again, let's go on the screen. And what are these nations I'm talking about? So I'm talking about the Western African nations, the ECOWAS nations, the nations where you have the CFA franc. That's the currency. Uh, Nations. See, if you go to places like Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Western Sahara, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Senegal, and so on and so forth. Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, Yaoundé, so on. Lots of these nations, these are francophone nations. The other nations, like in southern parts of Africa, etc., you speak English there. In South Africa, you speak either English or Afrikaans. In Namibia, again, English or Afrikaans, and so on. So, yeah, Africa is deeply, deeply colonized even today. Today, it's colonized by proxy. You have dictators who run most of Africa, and the dictators are proxies for foreign powers, and so on. So that is the deal. That's how it works in Africa today.